Okay, so welcome to the session. This will be the third session, and I would say this is one of the important sessions in the course because we will be dealing with installation. Okay, installation is not as simple as any other thing. I mean, we have a bundle um, provided by Oracle, which we can just plug and play. But I would not recommend that. Maybe during the first two sessions you can use that, but I would actually want you to set up the whole Oracle SOA in your local machines. It's not like rocket science. The only thing is you need to know what you're doing. Okay. Okay. The minimum requirements for this is for the installation is you need to have at least 8 GB RAM. I mean, you can 6 GB is okay, but 8 GB is recommended, and then 40 GB hard disk should be sufficient. OS shouldn't matter. If it's Windows, it's good. Even if it is iOS, that's okay. Like, even if it's Mac, that's good. Okay. Where do you get the downloads? It's very simple. There are two options you'll do it. So first is oracle.com. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, Ravi.
Okay. Yeah. So in oracle.com, just hover on downloads and you will see Oracle SOA Suite. Okay, you can just click on this. You just have to accept it. I mean, you just have to have an Oracle ID. That's free. You can create it. And once you're done, this one, I mean, it's basically divided into two parts because it's a big file. But basically, this is kind of a, I'm sorry, this is kind of a beginner installer. Okay, so what is this is basically everything is bundled. I mean, Oracle SOA, you require like 4 different software and 3 different configurations to set it up. But since for the beginners, Oracle has basically bundled everything into this single file. So initially, maybe for the first 2 sessions, starting now, first 2 or 3 sessions, you can actually download this, and then you install, and you can do your examples in this one. Okay, but once you get familiar with the SOA suite, maybe then we would be doing the full-fledged installation. Okay, I will go through the full-fledged installation. I'll go through all the steps. If you feel that is you understand everything, then I would recommend you to go with the actual installation of this quick pack. Okay. Let me tell you how to install this quick pack. This is very simple. When you download it, you get a zip file. Okay, so you just have to unzip it and you get a jar file, and it's as simple as you open a command prompt, go to the location and say java-jar and the jar file name. Okay, and then it will open up installer where you will give the location of middleware home, and that's all. You're done. After the installation, a JDeveloper opens up something like this with everything set up. Okay, even the server, Weblogic server, domain configuration, everything is done. So you just have to create programs and start the server and run it. That's a quick installation. But let's see what all are there in Oracle SOA Suite, or what all are required for Oracle SOA Suite installation. Let me open. Let me know if you're not following anything. Okay. So what are the different components that you require for Oracle SOA installation? If you list down everything, number 1 is Oracle database. Okay. Second one is repository connection utility. And the third one is Weblogic server. Fourth one is Oracle SOA Suite. This is the actual software that you're talking about. And the fifth one is you need to configure the domain. This is all runtime environment, and for design type, obviously, you need Oracle JDeveloper. Okay, so you require all these steps to be done. okay, and then you require Oracle JDeveloper to do your development. So let's see, why do we require all these, why do we require so many things here? Okay, so let me take an example. Now let's start with a simple Java application. Okay, so let's say most of you might be familiar with Java, or it could be anything like .NET or whatever it is, doesn't matter. So let's say this is an application server. Okay, it could be anything, not only WebLogic. I would say an application. So okay, and then let's say you have an Eclipse. Okay, Eclipse is basically IDE, right? In which you write all your programs. I mean, basically it's an IDE, so it will make your life simple to do it. So let's say we are writing a Java program. How it happens? Like you write all the Java program. Okay, once you're done, you basically compile it, and then you build it, right? You build it to either a jar file or a WAR file or an EAR file. It depends on what application. Is it a web application, enterprise application, or just a library, correct? So finally, you will have a bundle, whatever extension it is, okay? And then within the application server, you'll have something called a domain. Now, what is domain and all, we'll see in a minute, but let's see how it happens in a Java application. So you would have this jar file, right? Which is basically your application you build. You will deploy this into your domain in your application server. It could be anything. Okay. So now once it is deployed, what happens? This jar file will get exploded. Basically, it unzips the jar file, and it will basically read all the compiled code, and it will be ready to serve. So whenever you give a request, let's say this is a web browser, okay, or an application which is calling your uh, program. Okay, so whenever you give a request to this server, it basically reads the request, and it like executes the request based on the program, and then it sends you a response back, right? So this is what happens in any regular environment, whether it could be .NET or Java or PHP or whatever it is. Okay, so one thing to observe here is where you're building it, this is design time, okay, and this is runtime, right? What you need here, you need an application server, that's for sure, because you need to serve, I mean, something has to serve the request, right? So you need an application server. But the main thing that I want you to observe here is, where is the application getting deployed? Application is getting deployed on the domain, and all the files, all the compiled files like the .class file or whatever it is, are basically hosted within the application server, or they are residing within your domain, right? Now, Oracle SOA works little different. Let me open another one. Now, even Oracle SOA, like you need to, even this is nothing but an application, right? So you need a server which serves all your requests. So even this will require an application server, and it requires a domain. Don't worry about domains and all. I will let you know in a minute. Okay, so it's a SOA domain in this case. Earlier it was a Java domain, the SOA domain. Okay, so the same thing happens. You have an IDE, which is JDeveloper in this case, and this is design time. You write your SOA application. How we are writing is a second different story, but basically you write your application and build a jar file out of it. Okay, all SOA applications are basically jar files. When you build a jar file and then you deploy it to your domain. Okay, now uh, uh, you need to observe this. Okay, so when you deploy it to the application server, what happens is the jar file gets exploded. Basically, it reads the whole contents, and all the files do not reside within your domain, but instead it goes to a database. Okay, let's say this is a database. Instead, all the files, whatever it is, it could be a BPEL file, it could be a mediator, whatever it is, all the files literally go and sit in your database tables. Okay, so there would be different tables for different types of applications or different types of files, and all these files would go and sit in your database. Okay. Now, this is the deployment time. Then how it happens in runtime? Let's say I have a web service, okay, and this web service calls my SOA application, which is again a web service. Okay. So what happens is this application server will read the request and it will determine which service it is calling. Then it talks to the database, gets all those files into the system, into the domain, and then basically executes the request based on this and then sends you back the response. Okay. So everything remains the same except this part, which one basically storing, I mean, if I compare the two, this is Java application and this is SOA application. The only difference is everything is getting stored in the database. Okay. Now why it is modeled in, okay. And one more thing, not only the files, but during the execution of your program, there would be so many variables that get created, like the local variables, or then different types of objects. So everything that gets created, everything is literally stored in the database. Okay, so it is not like once you read all the files, it executes completely and then sends back the request. I mean, the communication happens continuously. Whenever a new variable is created, it goes and puts it in some table and then it reads it. So basically the communication between database and application server is like forever, it's continuous. Okay, so it takes help of the database for storage and then it serves the response. Okay, this is how Oracle SOA, not all SOA, but this is how Oracle SOA is modeled. Okay, now why they have used database? Maybe that's their design choice. Okay, maybe Oracle thought Oracle has the database as its main product, right? So maybe they wanted to have it for everything, or maybe they thought like putting in the database like would give you flexibility of getting the instance values, etc. These things you will understand later, but I'm just telling you. Okay, so this is how Oracle
Yeah,
happens.
Ravi, quick question. Kumar here.
Okay.
Yeah, when you say the informations are stored in database, is it the runtime definitions of all the objects related to middleware is stored in database, or how is it? It is the repository definition, like a metadata definition.
No, it's not metadata. It's literally everything.
So
It's not
basically, it
only.
is a runtime. So
Yeah,
suppose if I am
exactly.
executing a web service, when the application service is serving a request from the client, right? At that
Mm-hmm.
time, it contacts the web services from the provider, correct?
Correct.
So between this time, before calling the provider, it basically constructs the entire definition from the database,
Correct.
and then it gets ready to actually execute in the application server.
Correct.
And once that is been done, again it the results of whatever the data transfer between applications like that, it will get again stored in the DB,
Exactly.
basically the runtime definitions, right?
Yes.
So in a normal application or any middleware, generally during the runtime it loads object definitions or anything local variable, everything in the memory, and after that it winds up and cleans up the memory. But here you are saying that your all the definitions created during the runtime as part of each execution
Correct.
will get stored in the database. Correct?
Yes.
That means
Yes.
does it works like a log in the database?
Exactly. Like literally everything, every variable, every step in your process will be stored in the
Okay.
database. The uses of
Okay.
it is in Oracle. Maybe I
Uh-huh.
can show you. Okay, I don't want to show you my project,
No,
but
no, no. That's fine.
there is an application called Enterprise Manager, which we will do it from tomorrow. Okay, so there you will have literally
Mm-hmm.
every instance. Okay, you can go to any instance you want, and when you open it, you
Mm-hmm.
will see all the steps that are being executed and what are the inputs and what are the outputs, what are the variables, etc. Okay, so how does that instance is built? It's basically it gets all the data from the DB because everything is available in the DB, right? So it gets everything
Okay.
and
So
it basically stores the
so this is
instance information.
okay. So this information we can use it for analyzing what exactly is happening in the background and understand how the basically the SOA application server works, and also for troubleshooting we can use the same information through some sort of UI, right?
Exactly. Yes. Whenever
Okay.
something goes wrong, the only way that you do is you basically go to the
Mm.
enterprise manager, open the instance, you have everything there. So you can just go and see what is the variable value, etc.
Okay, okay. Is this a data model around this particular logging mechanism in the DB? Is been exposed to the normal developers like that, so that they can go either using the UI, or they can even just go for querying things in the
Yes.
database? Is that allowed?
Yes. End of the day, these are nothing but database tables. Okay. So whoever
Okay, okay,
has access to this schema called SOA infra, okay,
okay,
can
okay.
actually
Hmm.
get all the variables. Okay. These tables are not simple
Okay.
tables. There are around 2,000 tables. Okay. But if you
Yeah.
really know, I mean, the documentation is also there. So if you really
Yeah.
wanted to
Yeah.
directly get the data from the database instead of, because
Hmm.
ultimately this application, wherever you see all the instances, that basically talks to the database schema, right? So in the same way, you also
Yeah.
talk and get your data.
Okay. Fine. Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so in this session, let's not get into such complicated things because, I mean, it's maybe we can have this at the end of the session. Okay, if it is something related, very much related to the topic, maybe we'll do it within the session. Okay. So now you understand what is the difference between how Oracle SOA behaves and how other applications behave, right? So in this infrastructure, so what are the different components that you have, or what are the different components that you require? One thing is a database, correct? Because everything is stored. And then in database, it doesn't store in any tables, right? You require specific tables to be present there. So how do you create those tables? There is something called repository connection utility through which you create all those tables. This is nothing but an SQL file which creates all the tables. Okay, as simple as that. And coming to the application server, you need a server and then you need a domain, correct? So you need a SOA domain, basically, maybe I can say. You need a SOA domain. Okay, well, basically before SOA domain, I would say you need SOA libraries, because this server, or for that matter, Weblogic server, is basically a J2EE container, right? It's a Java container. And J2EE specification doesn't tell you anything about SOA. Okay, it runs all the J2EE applications. So how do you make, I mean, your Weblogic server execute SOA? Basically, you uh, deploy all the SOA libraries. Once you deploy all the SOA libraries, you will create a SOA domain. Okay, and then for the design time, you need a IDE. Okay, so the same thing happens. So these are the different things that we would require in order to install Oracle SOA Suite. Okay, so let's go to the slides and see what is there. So in this topic, we'll learn about WebLogic Server and SOA topology. Okay, so the first component that you require is Oracle database. Oracle SOA implementation is completely integrated with Oracle Database 12c. And all of the artifacts in SOA applications deployed to Oracle SOA Suite are saved in the database, and even the runtime data is also saved into the database. This is in contrast to a web application where you find most of the artifacts in the server running the application. And in the web server, usually, I mean, whatever, as Kumar said, like all the runtime data would be wiped off after the execution, right? But here in SOA, it's different. Now, why we need the runtime data is because in SOA, we are dealing with multiple services, right? Like n number of services. So you want to know what's really happening, because if there is an issue, there are like 10 different service providers where you are talking to. And if there is an issue with your response, then you want to know exactly where the issue was, right? So for that, you need to know each and every request and response. That is the reason why Oracle stores literally everything, so that your instance has all the information and you can debug it very easily. And then Oracle repository connection utility is the one that basically creates all the tables. Okay, because obviously you won't know like where the people process would go in, or etc., right? And for development purposes, Oracle database XC would be more than sufficient. So the database that we are talking here, it need not be Oracle full-fledged Oracle SOA suite. Sorry, it need not be full-fledged database 12c. because that's like very huge and it takes too much of resources. In our case, we just wanted a storage facility, right? And that too, that is from Oracle. So just the Express Edition, which is the lightweight container for Oracle database, would be more than sufficient. And coming to the
Ravi,
WebLogic.
is 11G also okay?
Yes, Express Edition is released for 11G only. So, okay, you're talking about database? Yeah, any database is
Yeah,
fine. Yep.
any database.
If
Okay.
you already have 11G, that's okay. Like you just need the storage. But all the other things
Okay.
should be on 12C. Okay, like the application server, literally everything. But
Got
this
it.
one has to. Database could be anything.
Okay.
Okay. And coming to the WebLogic server, Oracle WebLogic server is the application server on which SOA suite runs. That's obvious. And then WebLogic is just a J2E container, JE container. So you need, or WebLogic is a full-blown application server. It is completely integrated with Oracle SOA's platform. Yep.
Ravi, quick question. When you say database can be anything, is it only you are talking about the different versions of Oracle or even other than Oracle database also it supports?
No, Oracle SOA Suite, I mean, you can have any database, but Oracle doesn't provide the support. Okay, so if you really want the support from Oracle, you have to go with Oracle database because
Okay.
it is completely integrated and it talks
Okay.
beautifully. Okay, so
Okay.
performance would be much better. So that's the reason
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
talking about. For me, it's basically like different versions of Oracle database.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Yeah.
Yeah. And just remind me about this point at the end of the session, or let me note it down. I'll tell you something about that because I don't want to deviate. And then let's see what is the WebLogic server topology. So earlier in my explanation, I was telling you about the domains, right? And then I told you like I will explain you later. So let's see what is a domain, what is a server, what is a domain, and what are managed and admin server. So there are so many things within your application server, and this is not specific to WebLogic. It could be any server. Okay, any server in general, you have all the concepts. Okay, so let's say this is your WebLogic server. Okay, the whole box is your WebLogic server. Now you have an application you cannot directly deploy into your WebLogic server. Okay, why? Because you need a domain to do it. Now what is a domain? A domain is, I mean, in layman terms, I could say a domain is kind of a partition within your WebLogic server, which has all the WebLogic resources. Okay, so you can literally have any number of domains you want in your WebLogic servers. I just gave 3, but you can have any number as long as you have the memory. Okay, because each domain would take some memory, right? So, and why you need a domain? A domain is basically the execution point. I mean, it's basically a logical boundary within your WebLogic server, which contains all the resources of a WebLogic server, and it acts like a server. I mean, it basically serves your requests, uh, for responses. Okay, and each domain would have something called an admin server and managed servers. Okay, so how you can explain this is, let's say WebLogic server, I mean, I'm just explaining in layman terms. So let's say WebLogic server is a country. Okay, I would say each domain is kind of a state government. Okay, so one state cannot govern the other state, right? So this guy cannot creep into the other one. Okay, it's not possible. And then within your state, you would have multiple things. I mean, it's a state government, but it just does not operate that way, right? There should be a governor or there could be a CM in terms of India. And then you have all the district collectors, okay? So this is how it happens. So this guy will basically administer all the managed servers, and managed server is the one which basically works, okay? So when you're deploying something, you are basically deploying to a managed server. You can also deploy to an admin server, but we usually don't do it. Why we don't do it, I'll tell you later. Okay, so basically the execution point drills down to your managed servers. Okay, so every domain, this domain will be specific to a technology. Okay, so the way you create the domain, how you create the domain determines which technology it runs. If you create a SOA domain, it serves all the SOA requests. If you create a Java domain, it serves all the Java requests. You can even create a BPM domain. It works for all BPM applications. So this domain is basically a logical partition, which is specific to a technology. And then you will have an admin server, because basically you can have any number of managed servers within your domain. So you want a single point of control, right? That is nothing but the admin server. So this admin server can actually stop or start your managed servers. Okay. So let's say I want to stop these two for some reason, or I want to restart it. I can do everything via the admin server. Okay. So that's how it is. Now, why do you require different managed servers? There are many requirements for different managed servers. The most simple requirement is, let's say within your domain, I want a SOA server and I want an OSB server. Okay, so, or maybe I gave you a wrong example. I would say, like, I want a test environment, I want a QA environment, and then I want a QA2 environment. Okay, so I want to keep all these environments separately, because if there's something goes wrong in your test, QA should not get affected, right? So that's one of the uses of having different managed servers. But basically, the main usage of your managed servers is for load balancing in production. Okay, so let's say you have different managed servers. Okay, let's say we have only one managed server. Okay, and this can cater only 1,000 requests per second. Okay, that is its memory. Okay, so all the requests are coming, and then it is serving the response. Okay, but let's say your number of requests per second goes to 1,200. Okay, so what happens? Either the server will crash, or maybe the server becomes slow. It queues up. It depends on how it is set up. It basically queues and your response is slow. So instead, what you can do is you can have multiple managed servers. Okay. Or another thing is, if the server crashes, then all the subsequent requests, would not work, right? So basically, you don't have anything to serve. So instead, if you have multiple managed servers, and you deploy the same application, let's say A1, on all the servers, and you just put a proxy before this. Okay, so all the requests would come to the proxy, and the proxy will divert it to whatever managed server it wants. Okay, it has the logic on, it will check which managed server is healthy and which managed server is free, and then it checks it. So in this case, if you get 1,200 requests, it will basically give 600 requests to this, maybe 300 to this, maybe 200 to this, whatever it is. Okay, and another advantage is, let's say something crashes or something needs some changes, say the code gets corrupted, or maybe the threads are out of pool, so you want to restart it. When you're restarting it, your application is not going down, right? Because the other managed servers are up, and for the external user, he doesn't even know that how many managed servers are serving his request. What he will know is he will just get the response. That's another advantage of having multiple managed servers. Okay, so
I
this is
have a,
how.
I have a, I have a question, Ravi. So this time here, so who's a load balancer? Who acts as a load balancer in here? Are you saying the administration server is actually a load balancer?
No. This is just a proxy. This is another application which will act as a load balancer. Okay, you have so many applications in the market. Even Oracle has a load balancer. So you will have to configure the load balancer and connect all your managed servers. It is definitely not the admin server.
So what is admin server role in this?
Okay, the admin server role in this is, let's say let's say something gets corrupted here. Okay, and you want to restart the server. If you have an application within managed server 1 and you want to restart, okay, it's like you're killing yourself. like I'm shutting it down, but there is no one to start, right? If the application is within your managed server and you want to restart, you shut it down and you're dead. Like no one is there to bring you up. Whereas if you have an admin server, you have the control, right? You're overseeing it. So you shut it down and then you bring it up. Okay. So this is one of the advantages of having a external administration server. Another thing is all the logs for this particular server would be, I mean, at a domain level, all the performance logs, everything would be in your admin server. Okay. And then you can literally you can view all the three managed servers, right? So you can basically control your managed servers and how the resources are allocated to them, etc. I mean, the list goes
Yeah.
on and on.
Ravi, Kumar here. Can I say that all the administration activities of the managed server is completely managed within that managed
Exactly.
admin server,
Correct.
right? So,
Yes.
right, whatever the
Administration and
administration
managed server.
activities try to manage these servers, only those functionalities will be handled from your admin server.
Exactly. Yep. So that would be the best answer for you. So all the administration activities, and you might get it out like, can I deploy to the admin server? Yes, admin server is nothing but maybe I can say admin server is equal to managed server plus administration capabilities plus monitoring capabilities. Okay, so if it is a SOA admin server, I mean, even if it is a SOA managed server, even your admin server will be SOA and you can deploy applications. But it never happens here, because if something goes wrong here and you want to restart it, like you have only one admin server per domain, right? So that is the reason why you deploy everything into your managed server. In your development environment, just to save your resources, because your laptop has less resources, maybe you can configure only admin server and run your applications. But I would suggest you to configure your environment having a managed server and an admin server. Okay. So this is not specific to SOA, or this is not specific to WebLogic. It's same everywhere. Even if it is an IBM or server, it would be the same. Okay. And then, so as I told you, so within your domain, one managed server cannot directly control the other one. Admin server can control it. And one domain cannot directly control to the other one. For this, you have something called a node manager, which is kind of, it overlooks all the domains within your WebLogic server. Okay. But for SOA purposes, you don't require this. I mean, we are just concerned about having the domain and admin and managed servers. Okay. So what is a WebLogic server domain? A domain is nothing but an interrelated set of WebLogic resources that are managed as a unit. Okay. So it is a boundary within which you operate. A domain provides one point of administration, which is nothing but a administration server. Domain can logically separate dev, SIT, I mean different environments or different organizational or business. You have different teams within your organization and you have only one server. Okay, so what you do is you create different domains and give each domain to each and every person. Each domain would have a different URL. Okay, so in that way you can do it. Now what are admin and managed servers? So a domain consists of two types of servers, admin and managed. Administration servers is a central point of control of the domain. It stores all the configuration and logs for a particular domain. It basically administers everything. And managed server is any server in a domain other than the admin server. It contacts the admin server for configuration information. And then managed server is the one which basically executes or hosts all your applications. And managed servers usually host the applications, though admin servers can do so. Admin servers can do it, but they don't. Okay. So,
Ravi Kumar here. Quick question.
yeah.
See, when you say managed servers can be like a dev testing and UAT and other stuffs like that. That means the code movement between one managed servers to means one environment to another environment that can happen through the same your J developer itself, right? after you test.
Correct. From the same JDeveloper, you can connect to different managed servers and you can do it. But
Okay, so
ideally, that
basically you can.
yeah, that is I mean, instead of like managed servers are not usually different environments. A domain would be
Mhm.
created for different environments. But I
Okay.
got your question. Like there are two managed servers. Can you deploy them separately? Yes, you can deploy them separately using your JDeveloper.
Okay. The reason why I asked is like, see, for example, let's say within one domain, I have multiple managed servers, one for dev, and another for SIT, another for UAT, let's say.
Okay.
Okay. So now once I'm done with my unit testing in development and everything, then in that case, I should be able to move the code from one managed server to other managed server through the same JDeveloper, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and for some reasons, okay, I have two domains. Okay, one domain for entirely for development. Okay,
Okay.
another domain for entirely for production. Let's say. Okay,
Okay.
so whether this kind of scenarios practically occurs, like you have a different domain, one for development and another for UAT, because sometimes what happens if multiple teams are working on the development, okay, for multiple projects. So in that case, you will have one domain, multiple managed servers. Each managed servers can be used for multiple development team. Right?
Correct.
Is that
Correct.
scenario occurs generally?
Yeah. Okay. Generally, what happens is you would create different domains for different environments. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one is
Uh,
if your company is, I mean, usually a small company and it cannot have like too much of memory, then you can give
mm-hmm.
different managed servers to different teams. But usually, I mean, when someone implements SOA, it's a big company, so you would have different domains for different uh,
Mm.
teams, and you would configure
Uh-huh.
the same applications in different managed servers. Like I was telling you about the load balancing, right? So that's how
Mm-hmm.
you have it in your regular uh, work environments.
Okay. Okay. So
Okay.
okay, that's fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you want to do it in your local machine, yes, you can. I mean, that's what I give you all the information. So how you want to play is left to you. So you can
Mm.
have multiple managed servers, and you can think of each as a different environment, and you can promote it. Okay, or you can even
Mm.
do it in
Mm.
a different domains. Yeah. So
Yeah, but when I have different domains, the code movement between the different domains, that how that happens? Is it manually done, or it is something the same JD can also used for moving the code between one domain to another domain?
yeah, JDeveloper can do it. See how it happens is how the deployment
Mm.
happens is you have something called
Mm.
a application server connection. Okay, so this is nothing
Mm.
but you give say something. Okay, so you give the port details and then the
Mm.
domain name. Okay, so a
Okay.
port number would actually specify your managed server.
Okay.
Okay, and domain
Uh-huh.
name would actually specify your domain. So let's say I have
Oh,
base
okay.
domain 1, 7001 is
Uh-huh.
my admin server,
Uh-huh.
7002 is my managed server 1, 3 is, I mean, when you configure, you give a
Oh,
port number, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. Right, right, right.
okay, so you have
Yeah, I
everything
got
here.
it.
Yep,
The port numbers are physical, right? It's like physically aligned to the domains. Like for
exactly. They
example,
are physical,
701
not
to 7.
dynamic. Not dynamic.
Yeah, okay, they are not
They are
shared port
constant.
numbers.
Yep.
Okay, okay, fine.
Okay.
Okay,
So you're
thanks.
clear
Yeah,
now, right? Yep. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So now we spoke like how a domain, what is a domain and what are admin and managed servers, right? So that is generic. Now let's come specific to SOA. Okay. So in your SOA, how a domain would look like. So a domain would, I mean, this is a SOA domain. Okay. So basically with the SOA libraries, you create a domain. So it becomes SOA and you have an admin server. And let's say in our example, let's take only one managed server. Okay. So here you would actually this would actually serve all your requests. Okay, so all the requests would come to this, and this will execute everything talking to the database. See, SOA infra contains all the tables. Okay, so it talks to the database and then it serves the response. Okay, so now what is admin server? What does admin server has? Admin server has an admin console through which you can administer, like you can start, stop any server. Okay, that is the simplest example I can give. Or you can say you can configure the logging information. Okay, let's say you want this to be in development mode. Okay, so you have too many logs, or you want it to be in production mode so that you have less logs. So everything you can control it with the admin console. Okay, and then there is something called Enterprise Manager. Now, what is this Enterprise Manager? This is specific to Oracle Fusion middleware. Okay, when I say middleware, it is not only SOA. Everything comes up like BPM, say AIA, okay, or say BA applications, whatever it is. So basically, Oracle has come up because Weblogic console is something that is coming from since long, and Weblogic is basically a J2E application server, right? So it is common to all the, whether it is SOA or whether it is just a Java application server, admin console is exactly the same. Okay, but for Oracle Fusion middleware, Oracle has come up with a similar admin console called Enterprise Manager. Okay, but the advantage, the use of it is basically, it will, through it we can actually administer all your Fusion middleware applications. Okay, in our case it would be all the SOA applications. Now this is a console that we would be using repeatedly every day, literally every day we would be using Enterprise Manager. So earlier Kumar asked like, can I get all the instance information? Like, can I get a request information since everything is stored? Yes, you get the request information when you log into the Oracle Enterprise Manager. Okay, so this is your first point to get all the instance details. Even for testing a service also you can come to this Enterprise Manager. Why it is in admin server? Because you can have multiple managed servers, right? So you want to administer everything in a single console. That is the reason why Enterprise Manager is deployed to the admin server. And your SOA suite will give you this application. This is nothing but an application, web application. And you have many more apps, like you have all the DB adapters, you have all different kinds of adapters, different kinds of libraries, etc. Okay, and managed server basically hosts all your SOA applications. So this is how your SOA topology would look like, or your SOA installation with your SOA runtime within your WebLogic would look like. Okay, so now we have gone through all the details required for installing. Okay, so let's see step by step what all are required. Now we know what all are required, right? We have initially identified like we need a database, RCU, WebLogic, you need SOA libraries, SOA domain, and then IDE, right? So we have identified what all we require. So let's see where are those in Oracle, where to download, okay, and how to set up. So just go to oracle.com. Okay, oracle.com. If I hover on downloads and then Oracle SOA Suite, okay. Now, if you think that all this is like a big mess and you don't want to do all this, because all this is admin concepts, okay. Some admin guy would set up the environment and give it to a SOA consultant. The whole work of SOA consultant is to write the application. He never does this. But why I'm telling you this is because you want to know what's happening behind your runtime, right? So if you don't want to do it, what you can do is you can just download this jar file, and as I told you, you just give java-jar in there, and then you have the whole environment ready for you. Okay, so the only thing that you have to do is just say run and start server instance, and it will create a domain. It will create a domain for you in which you have an admin server. Okay, you will have only admin server. You won't have the managed server since this is integrated. Since this is like a quick pack, it won't give you like managed server. It just gives you admin server where you will deploy all your SOA suite applications, and you also have admin console, enterprise manager, etc. Okay, so for the first few days, maybe if you're really not understanding, or if you want, maybe I can actually suggest that you first start with this one. Okay, once you get familiar, then if you do the full installation, then you will really know what you're doing. Okay, so for the first few days, maybe first 2 or 3 days, you just do with this installation. But otherwise, once you are familiar, what you do is there is a site called edelivery.oracle.com. Okay, you just sign in. Okay, and let me open my website. I just wrote this right now. Where is this? Okay, so this gives you step-by-step approach. Okay, so for you not to get into any complications or any installation errors, you can follow this exactly step by step and you won't get into any issues. Okay, so the first thing, so these are the different components required: database, RCU, WebLogic, SOA suite. Okay, and what are the configurations required? You need to create the schemas and you need to configure the domain. Okay, so the first step is install Java, install JDK, because everything is Java based, right? WebLogic is Java container. So you install JDK 7. JDK 7 should be fine. Once you do that, when you install JDK 8, while extracting the jar file, you might get some issues and you have to do some extra configurations. Instead of doing all those, just install JDK 7. Okay, once you do that, you download and install Oracle Database XC. It could be full-fledged. If you already have full-fledged Oracle database, you don't have to do this. Otherwise, just download the Oracle XC. So it's very simple. Oracle Database XC, and you get into 11G R2. You can just download this one. Okay, and then you install it in a folder. Okay, and what is the third step? Third step is to download your WebLogic server. Okay, so where you download the WebLogic server is, just go to edelivery.oracle.com and here say Fusion infrastructure. Okay, say Fusion, Oracle Fusion middleware 12c infrastructure. Okay, 12.1.3 is the most stable version in 12c. So let's do all our applications in 12.1.3. 12.2.1 is like very latest. Okay, so we'll do everything on 12.1.3. So you can also download the same thing. Say Fusion infrastructure. Now, why it is called Fusion infrastructure is basically we wanted WebLogic server, right? Okay, the regular Java WebLogic server needs some JRF templates, which for SOA, which won't be available. So they have bundled they have bundled the WebLogic server and all the JRF templates that are required for SOA into a single installation called Oracle Fusion Middleware 12c infrastructure. I gave you the exact name here. Okay, you can just search for that, and then you select your platform. In my case, it is Windows 64, and then you just continue and you can download this one. Okay, so you have downloaded the WebLogic server. The next thing that you wanted to download is SOA libraries, right? SOA libraries are available in Oracle SOA Suite 12c. Okay, so in the same e-delivery site, you search for SOA Suite 12.1.3. See, the version numbers has to match. If one is 12.1.3, even the other one has to be 12.1.3. You just select the platform. Okay, and go to next, and you download these two jar files. These will be very heavy jar files. Okay, or let me tell you one thing. So I'm continuing, right? Let's say continue. I won't download, but I'll show you something. Okay, you get these 3 zip files. This infrastructure is nothing but your WebLogic server. And here if you see, one is 3 GB and one is 1.3 GB, right? Now this 3 GB is nothing but your quick start, which you download it from Oracle site. I mean, you can either download it from there or you can download once. If you already downloaded it, don't do it. Okay, this is quick start, means everything bundled. Okay, you don't want that, right? You just want Oracle SOA because you want to configure it. So you download these two. I mean, this will be in the video, so you can just refer to this and you can download. I'm not downloading it. Okay, what do you do after you download? So now you have everything available, right? You have all the softwares. Okay, so you have installed your Oracle database. Okay, and the next one is you have downloaded these two. Okay, Next, you have to install your Weblogic server. Weblogic server is nothing but what you have downloaded in step 3. So how you install, it's a jar file. So simply go to that path and say java-jar and then the file name. Okay. And it will ask you for the middleware home. Okay. So the best way or the best folder structure that you can do is, let's say you just, if you already have a drive, this is not compulsory, I'm just recommending. Let's say it is a D drive, okay, in your Windows. So you create a folder called MW middleware home, say 1213, no spaces in between, okay, and you create a folder like this, and inside this one you create, okay, so this will be the middleware home, right? So you just create this folder, and then when you are installing your Weblogic server, it will ask for your middleware home. You can specify that folder. Okay, so what happens is, under this it will create a file, it will create many folders. Basically you can see WLS, okay, which is nothing but the Weblogic server, and then it will create few folders which are not, we don't have to bother about those. The main thing to observe is Weblogic server. Okay, so you install Weblogic server. Now what is the next thing that you wanted to do? Once you are done with your server, you want SOA libraries, right? Because this Weblogic server is just a J2EE container. Okay, so it doesn't know Java. So you want to install all the SOA libraries. For that, you have Oracle SOA Suite, which you have downloaded in step 4. So you just execute the same command, java-jar, and this one. It will ask you for the middleware home again, and then you give the same folder so that your SOA will come here. I'll show you how it is in real time. I can show my folder structure. Okay, you have your SOA here. Okay, after this, you're done with the server, you're done with the libraries. The only thing remaining is SOA domain. Okay, and then did we do RCU yet? We didn't do, right? We just installed the database. Okay, now which one to do? Whether you want to install SOA domain, you want to configure SOA domain first, or you want to configure RCU. For this, we can go to the diagram. Okay, see, a domain is linked to a database, right? When a domain, where is my pen? Okay, so a domain is linked to the database, right? So database is kind of a prerequisite. That is the reason why you first have to execute the RCU. Now, where is RCU? RCU will be coming within your SOA. Okay, so let me show my middleware home. So this is my middleware home. Okay, so under middleware home, when I install Weblogic server, I got this folder. When I install SOA, I got this folder. Okay, when I install SOA, apart from this, I got many folders, like so many. Okay, so in this, look for a folder called Oracle Common, which gets installed when you install SOA. So you just double click on this Oracle Common, and then I think it's common here or bin. Yep. In bin, there is something called RCU. Okay, so you just have to run as admin, and when you say next, just go with the defaults. Give your database details. Okay. Now, why are you giving? Because you want to create the schema, right? The whole purpose of this is to create schema in your table. So username is what? Let me check this. Correct. Okay. Open the username. It's been some time I installed. Okay, I'm sorry. Sys. It has to be sysdba. So sys is the default user. So go to next. You get a warning. Just ignore it. Okay, so here it will tell you, here in this case, since the repository connection utility has come from with the SOA installation, it gives you only SOA option. But if you directly download from the eDelivery site, you would have many things like SOA Suite, Oracle BI, Oracle BPM like it is kind of a common interface to all the Fusion middleware schema creations. So since this has come with SOA suite, it gives you only SOA option. So I just click on that.
Ravi, this RCU bat file, where exactly it is? You said? Can you show me the path name?
Yes.
Just if you, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Oracle
sure.
bin, okay, common bin.
It is
Fine.
there in the blog, so not to worry. I clearly mentioned
Okay.
it in the blog. Okay, but so Oracle Common has come with our SOA installation. So that is the reason why we see only SOA here. So you just click on that, everything gets checked, and when you go to next, okay, you give a password and you remember this password. I would suggest just give welcome one so that you will never remember, you will never forget. Sorry. Okay, just go next, and then when you say next, it will create all the schemas. Okay, I don't want to create it now, so just say next and it will take some time, create everything. Okay, so what did we do till now? We have also created all the database tables, right? This is the place where all our files, all the variables get stored. So what's remaining? The only thing remaining is SOA domain. Okay, so what you have to do, you have to create a SOA domain and link your database tables to your SOA domain. So how do you do? It's very simple. Just go to the SOA folder which comes with your SOA installation. Go to SOA folder, common, bin. Okay, here there is something called config.cmd. This is basically configuring the domain. Okay, and then you give the domain location, which will be your user home. I mean your middleware home. Don't modify anything because this is the standard format. You can modify, but I never modify it. And you can give an appropriate name, say SOA domain. If it's your second domain, say SOA domain 2 or whatever. Give an appropriate name. And then here, see, you have many options. Okay, so this SOA doesn't only have SOA, but it has BPM. Like the bundle is common for everything. So what you wanted to do, I just want SOA suite. Don't install SOA core extension. SOA core extension is nothing but application integration architecture. Till 11G it was a separate product. In 12C they have integrated, but we don't want to install that. That's completely different and it takes like lots of memory. So just install SOA because we are learning only SOA now. And when you do that, you observe that there is something called Enterprise Manager. Okay, now what is Enterprise Manager? Enterprise Manager is the one through which we will control everything, right? Oracle Fusion middleware console. So that gets automatically checked. Say next. Okay, you're already 1 hour, but say next and say give a password. This will be your WebLogic. This will be the password for your admin console and the Enterprise Manager. Okay, so my suggestion is just give welcome one so that it will be easy. So give the same password literally for everything. And development or production, give development. And here you give your database details. Okay, so XC localhost 1521. Schema owner should be the same. Don't touch it. What is the password? This password you will give when you are installing database. Okay, so there also I use welcome one. I will say get RCU configuration. Everything is okay. So next, okay, it create. So basically, your SOA domain will require all these schemas. Okay, for storing everything. Okay, so this is the point where you are linking your database to, or I would say this is the point where you are linking your database to your domain. Okay, so you're basically creating the domain, right? But you want your domain to talk to the database. So once you do that, you get all the schemas within that and say next and you finish it off. Okay, the next steps are all obvious. So it will test everything and then everything is obvious. I'm not doing it again. Okay, so that's how you create a domain. So once you create a domain, what are we left with? Okay, so we have created the domain also. So literally all the SOA runtime we are done. Okay, storage part we have done.
Ravi, quick question.
Mhm.
See, when you are configuring your domain to connect to the database, you had a list of schemas, right?
Correct.
Complete list of. Now, out of that, there are some you can check it and something you can uncheck it, right?
Yes.
So once you do that, that means your domain is capable of connecting to a database only for those schemas, correct?
Exactly. Yep.
Like later on, if you want to enable your domain for connecting to other schema, that is also possible, right?
Yes, that is also possible because in this config, the first option is either to create a new domain or extend an existing domain. So when you select
Hmm.
extend an existing domain, okay, you
Mm-hmm.
will give the folder name where the domain is, and it will give you the current
Okay.
configuration. You can always extend it. You can check the other
Yes.
ones and then.
Okay. Okay. Fine.
So you're done with your full SOA runtime. So I'm ready. Okay. The only thing left is the IDE, right? So IDE, you get it here. So anyways, you would have installed initially, like for today, you would have installed the IDE, I mean, this one, right? The starter pack. The starter pack contains IDE plus the full environment. Okay. So you have the JDeveloper here. So you can use the same JDeveloper. You need not use a different one. Only thing is, instead of starting the server from here and then using this integrated server, we will use the server that we have installed. Okay. So this is basically your SOA installation. If you see here, there are so many steps involved. Okay. So if you think that you understand everything, I mean, if you're already aware of all the server technologies, you can actually start doing it. But if you think
Ravi,
that everything is
Kumar,
new, maybe
Ravi
you can,
Kumar here.
yep.
See, when you are using the JDeveloper and starting some server instance, and what is the difference between that and the one which you have created?
Yes, I will tell you. That was the thing I noted down. I wanted to tell you at the last. Okay, so in a minute I'll tell you. So,
Okay. Okay.
so this is how you do it. So for time being, if you are new to all these terminologies, maybe I would suggest you to download this and install. Okay. So from tomorrow onwards, we will do simple application. Tomorrow would be a mediator. Mediator is the simplest component of all. So we will do a couple of examples in mediator. Okay. So then you will understand like where you are really deploying things like that. So maybe after a couple of examples, after you practice it, then you know what is a server, where you are seeing it, and then you go with the installation. But I would say before the start of Depend, which would be like maybe 9th or 10th session, I would suggest everyone to have the complete setup in the local machines. Okay. And now
So,
coming, yeah.
Ravi, so sorry to interrupt. So the starter pack, when we do the starter pack, we don't have to do the steps as you described. We only have to do the steps as you described to do a full installation. Is that correct?
That is correct. The starter pack, you just give java-jar and it will do everything that's shown in this figure. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And then we'll install a default instance where you can start by using that menu. And
Exactly.
so that's,
Yes.
oh, okay,
I will.
gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
I will show that. I mean, tomorrow, anyways, we will be deploying an application, right? So we'll create a new domain. Okay, so that you will understand how to start. Okay, in the starter pack. Okay. So coming to the question, we are almost done. I mean, it's 9 minutes. So let's finish it off. Coming to the question, what is the difference between the starter pack and this installation? That's one thing. And the same, I mean, another question also would be answered in the same thing. Kumar asked me whether we can use only Oracle database or anything. Okay. So both the answers I'll cover in this one. The starter pack, when you create a domain, okay, when I say I just installed it. So when I say run and start server instance here, I'm not doing it now. But when you click on this one, the moment I click on this, what it does, it takes like 10 minutes to set it up. What it does is it will create a domain. Okay. So a domain, and it will create a single admin server, not managed servers. And then it will create a Java database. Okay. So since this starter pack doesn't have Oracle database, you might have got a doubt like from where does the database come? Okay, so it will create a Java database. Instead of Oracle database, it will create a database based out of Java, and then it will use that database to do it, because this is like a lightweight component. Okay, so that is the only difference that you have between a starter pack and a complete installation. Okay, so the only difference is you would have only one managed server on which you deploy everything, which is not a good practice, and the Java DB. So this will answer your question that it could be any DB for that matter. Okay, only thing is it has to be seamless. If Oracle already does it, then they would have taken care of everything, right? But for us, let's go with Oracle database. So that's all we have. Maybe let's see if there are any more slides. Okay, so overall process installation is very simple. The same thing that we have talked about: Weblogic Server, then Oracle SOA Suite, then you install Oracle database, then you run the RCU, which comes with the SOA installation. Okay, so it creates all the tables. Then you configure the domain, which comes also with the SOA installation. I mean, I'm talking with the folder. Once everything is done, you can start the server and verify it. Okay, we will anyways do this tomorrow, so that's the reason why I'm not doing it. That's all. So this is everything about Oracle SOA installation. I hope this is clear to everyone. Maybe you can go through the recording if you have any questions. So right now, if you have any questions, maybe we can go through.
Yeah, Ravi, Kumar here again. See, I downloaded from that Oracle Quick Starter Pack, okay, both the files. I installed locally, okay, and prior to that, I have installed my JDK version 8 as well as the database, Oracle database.
Okay.
Okay, and after that, I downloaded this one. I installed the Oracle SOA suite applications as such. Okay, then the JDeveloper also has been installed. So once this is done, I have not run that JCU utility, whatever that repository utility we're talking about,
yeah.
the infrastructure RCU. That I have not done it. Okay, so before doing that, when I go to the run, I am able to start the server instance.
Yes.
Okay, so that means it is now currently using Java DB only, correct?
Exactly.
Whatever
yes.
the domain. So it is using the Java DB. Now, now at this point, after this, should I need to run the RCU so that it creates all the tables in the Java database, and then sorry, not Java database, Oracle database, and then after that, how do I start the server? Again, if I go and start the server, whether it will connect to the Java database and how we can differentiate it as such.
See, which database it connects to depends on how you create the domain. When you just click on start server, it created a domain and it created a Java DB, and the connection is already established, right? So even when you create the schema, it will still use Java DB. Okay. So now basically you are at this step. So you can actually check each and every step. So you have done this and you have done this. You haven't downloaded, right? So just download these two. Okay, install Weblogic Server, install SOA Suite, and then when you configure the database schema using the RCU, okay, you will use your Oracle database, and then when you configure the domain, you will use that particular database. Okay, so these are the steps you haven't done. Okay, and then JDeveloper, and going forward, you never use this integrated server. Never use it because it's like a starter pack, right?
Okay, fine. So when I do the quick install, does it not install the Weblogic also? Weblogic, do we need to?
Yeah, of course.
Install, right?
I mean, that's an integrated server within your Weblogic. Even if you see the folder structure, it will be within your JDeveloper. Okay, within your JDeveloper folder, you are installing this SOA integrated. Weblogic.
Yeah, see,
and then SOA everything. Okay, so the whole thing happens, but everything is under your JDeveloper integrated server. Okay, which is very lightweight. If you create a ADF application, it hangs. Okay, so that is the reason why we don't use integrated servers.
See, when I installed, I could see under the Oracle product, I have my middleware folder. Okay, that I have created as FMW1221. Under that, I am able to see the folders like WL server, SOA, OSP, all these I am able. That means that Weblogic server is already installed, right?
Yeah, I mean this one when you do a start server, it will create create the Weblogic server, create the domain, create the DB, everything. Okay, so but that is kind of integrated. Okay, so it is not full-fledged. Okay, maybe you can say Express Edition for full-fledged database. Okay.
Okay.
So similarly, it would be, it would not be a full-fledged SOA domain. So what I would recommend is, don't when you install your, when you give your middleware home, you create a new folder out of your JDeveloper, whatever you have created, maybe parallelly to that or in a different folder, and you use that as your middleware home. Okay. So you would see the same set of files here also, but this would be like a full-fledged instead of the integrated side.
Okay, so okay, fine. Okay, then I need to install separately WebLogic server separately.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, don't use whatever comes with the starter pack, because starter pack is like, it's starter pack, that's all. I mean, you don't have full-fledged things in that.
Okay.
Ravi, Ganesh here. I already have WebLogic 10 on my machine, and I have some applications already deployed on it.
Okay.
So if I want to go for 12c, do I need to uninstall existing WebLogic 10 and then?
No, you don't have to do that. Only thing is, when you start your WebLogic 10, don't start 12c. So,
okay,
like, you can have multiple things, but don't start everything at once.
okay.
Okay. Yeah. So, any more questions? Okay. All right then. So maybe tomorrow we'll meet at the same time. Tomorrow's session would be simple. We will do a couple of mediator examples. We would actually install the applications, look at the enterprise manager, look at the instances, and things like that. Okay. Thank you guys. I'll send you the.
You will be uploading this recorded session, right? After this call.
Yes, I'll do
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
Maybe it takes time for converting. Maybe after a couple of hours, we'll get the recording. Okay.
Okay, fine.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you
Ravi.
very much. Bye.
Good day.
Ravi, also upload the PPT.
Yeah, I will do that. Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.